Good morning to the all beautiful people. So, in today's video, we are going to learn about Spring Security and its features. Also, we are going to learn about design patterns. So, I hope you will stay with me and learn throughout the session. So, here we are. So, we are going to learn. Firstly, we are going to learn about introduction to Spring Security. Introduction. Its features. So basically, Spring Security is one of the projects by the Spring team that is built using the framework in Java. So this project aims to make it easy for developers to secure web application against common exploits such as cross-site request forestry, CSRF attacks, and it contains code that can be customized or used as it is. So depending on the use case, its major function is to manage authentication and authorization at both the web request and method invocation levels. Internally, Internally, the Spring Security Framework contains a series of servlet filters that handle various aspects of security. Although it adheres to Spring's setup convention, programmers may select between default provision and modify them to their specific requirements. Spring Security works on the four concepts: authentication, authorization, password storage, and servlet filters. So this works on four uh, concepts like authentication, second one is authorization, and third one is password security, and fourth one is servlet filters. So basically, authentication is a user uh, really who he claims to be. Authorization is does user have appropriate role? Password storage is how is the password stored in memory or the database? And servlet filters are any new features that we need to add or just use the default ones provided by using Spring term. So now we are going to learn about advantages of Spring Security. So there are some major advantages of Spring Security, like protection against attacks like station fixation, CSRF, and click tracking. It is also used in Spring MVC integration. It supports Java configuration. It is portable. It is integration of servlet API. It protects against brute force attacks, and it is active community and open source with updates against new exploits. So here is the protect against attack. Suppose Spring MVC integration. I'm not going to write in. No, big word. Write it in very short words. So okay. So mm, in this Spring Security, there is need of Maven setup for Spring Security. So for setting up Spring Security code, you have to add following dependencies inside your rom.xml file. So I'm going to show you for setting in pom.xml file. Put this dependencies like properties. I give you in proper way. So this is dependencies, and generally it is considered good practice to always include Spring Boot security starters. It allows Maven to automatically pull the supported version of Spring Security according to the requirement of your project. This reduces the bugs and makes version control a lot easier. So here are some Spring Security features. So Spring features. So first one is authentication, authorization. Okay, sorry, authorization. Second one is signal single sign-on. Third one is software localization. Fourth one is remember me. Fifth one is LDAP. LDAP. It means lightweight directory access protocol. Lightweight directory access protocol. Sixth one is JAS. It means Java authentication and authorization. Service guys, just a minute. Seventh one is waveform authentication. Eighth one is digest access application. 9 HTTP authorization. And 10th and last one is basic access authentication. These are Spring security features. Okay, now we are going to understand one by one. So, this is authorization. So, in authorization, this functionality is provided by Spring Security and allow the user to be authorized before accessing resource. It enables developers to set access controls and resource. So, this enables developers to set access and control for resources. So this single sign-on is the feature which allows user to utilize a single account to access different apps like different username and password. Third one is software localization. This is the feature which has capability enables to create user interface for application in any language. You can create any user interface for application in any language. Like if you want to create application in German or French, then you can use software localization. So by using this, you can create any other language application. So remember me is basically with the help of HTTP cookies, Spring Security provides this capability. It remembers the user and prevents them from logging in from the same workstation until they log out. So this is like login logout option, and is lightweight directory access protocol is Open Application Protocol for managing and interacting with dispersed directory information service over the Internet Protocol. So this is about that. This Java authentication and authorization service is Java-based pluggable authentication module which supports by Spring Security authorization procedure. So this is with the help of Java. This is waveform authentication. Waveforms capture the authenticate user credential from the web browser during this procedure. While we wish to build waveform authentication, Spring Security supports it. If you want to build waveform uh, authentication, then Spring Security supports it. This is that. Digest access authentication is we can make the authentication procedure more secure with this functionality than the basic access authentication. Before delivering sensitive data over the network, it requests that the browser verify the user's identity. So HTTP authentication is using Apache and Path or regular expressions. Spring provides this functionality for HTTP authentication of web request URL. And the last one is basic access authentication is Spring Security has support for basic access authentication, which is used to give a username and password when performing network requests. So features added in Spring Security is Auth 2.0 login. So this feature allows users to connect to the app using their current GitHub or Google account. The authentication Google grant define the Auth 2.0 authentication framework is used to implement this functionality. So reactive support is Spring Security 6.0 adds support for reactive programming and reactive web runtimes as well as the ability to interact with the Spring web flux. Also, modernized password encoding. So Spring Security 6.0 introduced the delegating password encoder, a new way to store passwords. The format for storing password is ID, encoded password. So some important terms in Spring Security. So Spring Security secures our web application by default, and further we can customize it as per our needs. So important terminology in Spring Security are as follows. Like securities are, first one is authentication, second one is authorization, third one is filter. So let us discuss each of them individually as follows. So I'm created a PPT for you guys. So I'm going to show you that. So just wait 1 minute. This is our presentation for all of you. This is okay. This is authentication. The identity of user is verified for providing the access to the system. If the user is verified as per the said credential, the request is accepted and the desired response is given to the client from the server. Some of the methods are as follows, like login form, HTTP authentication, customer authentication method. So login form is a web page to a website that requires user identification and authentication performed by entering a username and password. Like if you want to log in your Insta account or any other account. So you have to put your username and password. Then after that, it is login. If anyone else can try to log in your account, then they don't know about your password, so they are not able to put your password in that password section. So basically, it is prevent you from being what we say being uh, malware attacks victims. So it is performed by entering the username and password. And HTTP authentication is the server can request authentication information from a client. In this server, like your mobile is asked you to put your username and password. If you don't able to put that, the system is not going to uh, upgrade. If you don't put a username and password, there is no next process is coming. So it is very important to put your username and password because of next procedure. So customer authentication method. Customer authentication method is a new regulation designed to prevent online transaction fraud. So because of that, many of us are becoming a fraud, becoming uh, a fraud victim because of some scams we are going to uh, lose our money. So this is for that. So second terminology is authorization. It is giving the user the permission to access a specific resource or function some with some methods. Methods are like access control for URLs. Security of URLs allow you to restrict access to specific internet sites based on the contents of the URL. Also, secure objects and method. The class method is called by a security interceptor implementation to ensure that the configured access design manager supports the data type of secure object or not. So, access control list and access control list specifies which user are granted access to object as well as what operations are allowed to them. This is all about authorization. And third one is filter. So filter is a function that is invoked at the time of pre-processing and the post-processing of request. Spring Security maintains a filter chain whether all filters have different responsibilities and filters are added or removed depending on which service are required. These are filters, and these filters are going to add or remove. If there is need of any more filter, then you are going to add filter. And here is no need of this filter, then this filter is not no, you can remove this filter. So this is like that. So now we are going to understand design patterns in Java. So here we are design patterns. So design patterns are solutions to generate problems that software developers face during the software development. So what is gang of four? What is GOF? In short, I create a GOF. GOF is a gang of four. So in 1994, four authors, Erich Gamma, Richard Hellem, Repeat Johnson, and John Wesley, published a book titled Design Patterns, Elements of Reusable Objects-Oriented Software. So which initialized the concept of design patterns in software development. So these authors are collectively known as Gang of Four, like GOF. So Gang of Four is author's name, like Erich Gamma, then Richard Helen Johnson, and John. These are Gang of Four. So, according to these authors, design patterns are primarily based on the following principles of object-oriented design. So, it is programmed to an interface, not an implementation, favor object composition over inheritance. There are three basic classifications of patterns: creational, structural, and behavioral patterns. So, types of design patterns. There is creational, structural, behavioral. Okay. So, creational patterns. Here is PPT. So, here we are. So, types of design pattern. There are design patterns, three design patterns: creational design pattern, structural design pattern, behavioral design pattern. In creational design pattern, they help to make a system independent of how its objects are created, composed, and represented. In structural design patterns are concerned how classes and objects are composed to form large structure. In behavioral design pattern, they are concerned with algorithms and the assignments of responsibilities between objects. So this is the just a minute. This is behavioral. This is creational. Creational, structural. Okay, now this is creational design pattern. In this pattern, there are five types of pattern. In creational design pattern, there is five types: singleton pattern, factory pattern, abstract factory pattern, builder pattern, and prototype pattern. So, factory pattern, factory method. Okay, factory method. This is factory method creates an instance of several derived classes. The factory method pattern defines an interface for creating an object, but lets the subclass decides which class to instantiate. Factory method lets a class defer instantiation to subclasses. So In short, this factory method creates this one. This factory method uh, creates an instance of several derived class. Okay. So next one is abstract factory. This one, abstract factory, it is creates an instance of several families of classes. An abstract family gives us an interface for creating a family of related products. So it is giving you a factory of related products. So next one is builder pattern. Builder pattern is a pattern which builds a complex object using simple objects and using a step-by-step approach. Um, a builder class builds the final object step by step. We use the example of creating cake using builder design pattern in Java. So inside cake, which is used to create object, is a static nested builded class. So this is the real life example of builder pattern, and it is simply separates the object construction from its representation. So fourth one is prototype pattern. It is a fully initialized instance to be copied or cloned. When creating an object is time consuming and a costly affair, and you already have a most similar object instance in hand, then you go for prototype pattern. Instead of going through a time consuming process to create a complex object, just copy the exact similar object and modify it according to your needs. Prototype pattern means if you like any dress, you want to stitch the same dress, but you want some different design. So you choose that you want same color, same design, but only you want is the little bit design different, or you want add extra modification. Then this is the prototype pattern. Also, you just have to copy the existing instance in hand. When you say copy in Java, immediately cloning comes into picture. That's why when you read about prototype pattern, all the literature invariably prefers Java cloning. The prototype design pattern mandates that the instance which you are going to copy should provide the copying feature. Always remember, while using clone to copy, whether you need a shallow copy or deep copy. Decide based on your business need. If you need a deep copy, you can use serialization to get the deep copy done. Using clone to copy is internally a design while implementing the prototype design pattern. Clone is not a mandatory choice for prototype pattern. So this is about prototype pattern. It is only copy of uh, existing instance. Uh, Now the singleton pattern. Singleton pattern is a class in which only single instance can exist. There are some scenarios where we need only one object to be created, like thread rules, gadget, object that handle registry settings, object used for logging, and objects that act as device drivers to device like printers and graphics cards. In fact, for many of these type of objects, if we were initial created more than one, we would run into all sort of problems like incorrect programs, behavior, overuse of resource, or inconsistent results. So this is for singleton pattern. So now we are going to learn types of structural design pattern. In the structural design patterns, there are six types: adapter pattern, bridge pattern, composite pattern, decorator pattern, packet pattern, proxy pattern. So adapter pattern. Adapter pattern converts interface of class into another interface that client expects. Adapter lets class work together that couldn't otherwise because of incompatible interface. It matches interface of different classes. If you want to see real life example, then British plugs or Indian plugs are cylindrical and American plugs are rectangular. So you can use an adapter in between to fit an American plug in British. So socket assuming voltage requirements are met with. So that's it. Now the bridge pattern. Bridge pattern separates an object's interface from its implementation. The bridge pattern attempts to solve this problem by switching from is or to has a structure. So what this means is that you extract one of the dimension into separate class hierarchy so that the original class will reference an object with a new hierarchy. The main advantage of this is that both of the hierarchy are totally decoupled and changes can be done in the hierarchy without affecting the other one. So this is the bridge pattern. The composite pattern is a tree structure and a simple and composite object. It allows you to set up a tree structure and ask each element in the tree structure to perform a task. A typical tree structure would be a company organization chart where the CEO is at the top and the other employee at the bottom. After the tree structure is established, you can then ask each element or employee to perform a common operation. So the composite pattern classify each element in the tree as a composite or a leaf. So next one is decorator pattern. Decorator is a design pattern in Java which is a prominent core Java design pattern and you can see a lot of its example in JDK itself. JDK use decorator pattern in the IO package where it uh, decorated trigger and writer class for various scenario. For example, buffer reader and buffer writer are example of the decorator design pattern in Java. It adds responsibilities to object dynamically. So, facade pattern. It is a single class that represents an entire subsystem. Packet pattern hides the complexities of the system and provides an interface to the client using which the client can access the system. This type of design pattern comes under structural pattern as this pattern adds an interface to existing system to hide the complexity. This pattern involves a single class which provides simplifying methods which are required by client and delegates call to existing system class method and proxy. Proxy method is an object representing another object. The proxy design pattern is a structural design pattern that provides a surrogate or placeholder for another object to control access to it. So if you all know the meaning of surrogacy, so like that, uh, proxy is like surrogate. So simply understand that proxy is surrogate or placeholder. So that's it. Different. So third one is behavioral design pattern. So in behavioral design pattern, so that's it. Thank you.